down the road. I want you to help me put an end to that phrase, and we're going to stomp on that can so it doesn't roll anymore. We're going to fix the problem. So right now, there's not been anything frustrating.
What about gridlock in Washington, working across the aisle, because that's creating a lot of problems in D.C. coming from whether it be Navy cut or budget cuts in defense or even debt ceiling. It all stems from gridlock.
It sure does, and that was one of the things people were just frustrated about, and that was one of the things that got me to run. And the good thing I see is talking to the new members of Congress, both on the Republican side and the Democrat side, they're tired of it too. I mean, we talked with some of the new Democrats, and they says, you know, we've got to put America first. This is the time we need to put party politics aside, and this is what we've said. Put party politics aside and put America first. And so I think you'll see a different attitude in the 113th Congress, and I think the American people, number one, they expect it, and they're demanding it. I mean, they're sending different type of people up there, and I'm a perfect example of that. So I look forward to working on these issues and moving forward on these.
Congressman, what are you specifically doing in Washington to help avert some of these billions of dollars in military defense cuts?
Well, sequestration is coming up, and this is something they thought would never come to the table. And I see it as poor policy that they said, well, we'll make it so bad nobody wants it. But yet now we're having to deal with it, and it's coming up quickly here. We're going to have to deal with this. How we deal with this, we'll see. We can change the cuts, and I look forward. And what I probably anticipate more than anything is some of that will be watered down and spread out. So hopefully it won't be as dramatic as they're saying it's going to be, but it looks like it is coming, and it's one of the big things we're going to work on when we get back right away.
Yeah, there's a local admiral here in the Jacksonville area out of the Navy. Of course, they're looking at $4 billion in cuts if a deal isn't struck in Congress. Could put up to 10,000 local people on furloughs, cuts.
Right.
I mean, as represented in this area, Jacksonville's a Navy town. What do you have to say to the families who are worried about these?
Well, again, I mean, that's one of the things we have to work with, dealing with that problem, but we need to look beyond that. We've got a big the debt limit coming up, and we've raised the debt ceiling in this country 7 times in the last 10 years, and dealing with sequestration right now is a result of them not dealing with the main problem, and the problem is spending. We've got to get that under control. And again, I think what you'll see come out of this is you'll see some variation of what you're seeing now. And I look at the bad policies that led us to here, and we want to stop that so that we don't have to have this discussion down the road. And we need to remind the federal government and people in Washington that the number one charge of the federal government is national security. And I've talked to people on the military side, and they don't want any more cuts. But I've also talked to some that said there's some that we could give. They don't want to, and we don't want to, but we need to keep in mind that the national security is our number one chore in this country, and that will be protected.
In avoiding the cuts that are already slated to happen if a deal can't be reached, is there any way to soften the blow to our military? Is that even possible, or how? What specifically?
Well, when we get up there, we look at the amount of cuts, where they're going to be, you know, maybe divert from a certain program. Maybe there's some places that we can. You know, I had a guy the other day, and I'm not saying this is what would happen, but they said they have private contractors and they're paying X amount of dollars. Maybe that should go to a military person. So that's somewhere where you can, you know, reroute the money, pay military, and let a private contractor go. So, I mean, there's a lot of things like that.
Last week, y'all voted and passed, the House passed exceeding the legal borrowing limit in this debt ceiling debate. Where did you vote on that?
I voted no. And what we did is we voted on the no budget, no pay. And what happened is that put off dealing with raising the debt ceiling right now. And it put it off till May 19th. And so what that allowed the president to do is spend between now and May 19th. And what Congress said is that we will cover any expenses that are incurred. So it did, in essence, raise the debt ceiling, and I voted no against it.
You voted against that. Tell me why. I mean, obviously, it's your belief that they shouldn't have done that.
Well, again, it goes back to what we've done in the last 10 years. We've raised the debt ceiling 7 times. And you're a young fella. You should be really concerned about this and hold us accountable, because our debt's gone from $5 trillion to over $16.4 trillion. And it's a staggering amount that each one of us owe. And if we don't deal with it now, when are we going to deal with it? And we've got to stop kicking that can down the road. We're going to stomp on it, and we're going to deal with this problem. And it's going to be something this is something for the whole country to rally around. This is not a Republican issue. This is not a Democratic issue. This is an American issue. This is something we need to fix now for the betterment of this country down the road for future generations, so that we can get back to really what we're about, the American dream and the prosperity that this country offers, not to a select few, but anybody out there that's willing to work. And that's what we need to focus on. I look forward to doing that.
Good. My final question is, what do you want your constituents to know that you're doing specifically to not so-called kick the can down the road? And what policies do you want to put in place to ensure that we aren't just, borrowing now that we'll have to pay back later?
Keep voting the way I am, holding leadership accountable, and just say, that's not the direction. I wasn't sent up here for that. We're sent up here to stop the borrowing, to stop the nonsense of some of these policies, so that we don't have a year from now another sequestration in somewhere else in our economy. We just need to say we addressed this problem, we saw the problem, because what I see is we treat symptoms so many times in the past. What I want to do, and I want to give confidence to the constituents, is I want to look at the diagnosis of the problem and treat the problem, the root cause of that, so that we're not just putting a Band-Aid on it. That's what I want to do.
Thank you for your time, Congressman.
Yes, sir. You
Appreciate
take care.
it.
Have a great day.
You too.